Good evening, everyone. My name is David Waswa, and I'll try to give a brief introduction on classroom management this evening. Classroom management is a common topic in classroom discussion settings, especially in teacher staff rooms, because this is something that happens in every single classroom. Whether you are teaching kindergarten students, whether you are teaching high school students, or whether you are teaching university students, you must practice classroom management. So, what is it? What is classroom management? Most of you must have heard in many classrooms that you've been, your teachers saying, "Could you please be quiet? Come on, guys, can you please settle down so that we can move on with the lesson? Hello, Mary, would you stop using your phone, please? John, don't throw that paper." Some of these statements, you will hear them over and over, especially in primary level classrooms. So for those of us who are aspiring to become teachers, we will encounter all these things, and therefore the need for us to prepare in advance. How do we handle students who do not pay attention in class? And by paying attention, I mean, might not necessarily mean running around in class or making noise in class or interfering with other students in class. It could be the student is not paying attention, probably on the phone or sleeping. All these things constitute classroom mess, a classroom that is not controlled, a classroom where learning is not happening. But not all rowdy classes mean that learning is not going on. As time goes by, we'll talk about that. There are some classrooms that will be unruly because different people learn best in different situations. You could see students who are really like very active in class, talk, speak to others, but when you ask them questions, they actually do understand what you're talking about. They understand the lesson. So the danger in that is that they might be interfering with the others that they are talking to, who may not be in the same way as they are. They would understand best if a class is interrupted. Now, what is the official definition of classroom management? Classroom management simply refers to the process through which a teacher delivers a lesson despite all these disruptions happening in the classroom. So whether there is students are rowdy, whether students are quietly seated down, whether students are busy on their phones, you as a teacher must come up with a way to make sure that they understand your lesson. That is what we call classroom management. It does not necessarily mean that you will shout over them. It does not necessarily mean you will do things that the old generation used to do. But even in the old generation, people like Plato, an ancient Greek philosopher, say that if you are teaching young ones, you do not force them. You teach through the things that they enjoy, the things that they love to do. That is Plato, very, very long time ago. He understood the need for attention. Now, this has evolved through time. After Plato, it came to other generations. Then there was physical, or what we call corporal punishment. I am pretty sure your parents or your great parents used to get physical punishment. The teachers will tell them to lie down and they get 10 strokes of the cane and then they will not make noise again. But things have changed. It's not like it used to be then. And there are several theories on classroom management, beginning from the 60s in the time of Skinner, all the way to people like Pierre in 2010. There are several theories that, given time, we will look at them. At this point, I would like to give a brief assignment. I would divide the class into several groups, small groups, maybe 5 students per group. And then I ask students to come up with a solution to a simple problem. Because these are aspiring teachers, very soon they will be in their own classrooms. So I'll tell them that imagine you're in a classroom and you notice that there is this student who is not paying attention. And the student is not interruptive. The student is not running around in class. The student is not making noise or even interfering with other students next to him or her. This student is just seated down, probably head bowed. You might think the student is listening, or you might think the student is actually writing, but actually the student could be on the phone, or maybe the student is sleeping. Now with mobile phones, teachers' lives have become actually very, very tricky. It could be very useful in the classroom if you know how to use it, or it could be disastrous in a classroom. So depending on how you handle it, some teachers will allow, or some schools will allow students with mobile phones, others will not. So that is a whole different area, a whole different issue that we might talk about given time. But now that you've noticed this student is just head bowed down, he's not paying attention, and you are sure 100% that